Hey guys, it's Sammy. Wanted to hop on today and talk about stress, something that everybody deals with. And some people handle it differently and some people feel it differently. But I just wanted to talk today about one of the ways that it can affect you. We're going to go through more than just one way, but I want to address especially one of those. So, stress, like I said, it affects everyone differently. Certain amounts and levels of stress can actually be beneficial. I don't know if you've ever found this, but this is actually called eustress. And this type of stress, it's temporary. It can motivate or increase productivity. Good stuff, right? So, when stress is overwhelming or prolonged, though, this is when it can have a negative impact, and not everyone experiences it the same way. Some find it's more mental. Some experience in different ways in their body physically. But stress almost always does have a physical effect. So, here are some of the ways that you may find that stress has affected you. So, one, cardiovascular system. You would find increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, increased risk of cardiovascular disease with prolonged exposure to stress. Another area that it affects is the musculoskeletal system. So this is an area where muscles get tight because you're stressed, and that can lead to alignment issues, headaches, pain, all of that, which is never fun. Next area would be gastrointestinal system. So stress can actually affect your digestion, which then can lead to bloating and cramping, constipation, diarrhea, nausea. Never fun, right? And another area is the endocrine system. So with prolonged and excess release of hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, what this can lead to is weight gain or the inability to lose weight, muscle breakdown, and insulin resistance. So these are never a good thing health-wise. So the area that I want to address today is number two, the musculoskeletal system. And the reason why I want to address this today is because I just had a good reminder with an experience for myself, how stress can actually affect your musculoskeletal system and the little known muscles, the iliopsoas muscle complex. Okay, so if we look at the picture that I have for you guys, you can see that there's the psoas major, the psoas minor, and the iliacus. Okay, so these are all very connected. They touch the spine, they touch the lower back, they touch the pelvis. So you can see that those actually have a huge impact on alignment. But we'll get into it a little bit more, the other areas where they actually touch on as well. But here's the deal. I won't go into details. The last 4 weeks were stressful at my house. Okay. They were necessary and they were unavoidable. And in many ways, honestly, a privilege, but I felt the effects of it physically. I've struggled with SI joint issues in the past. And let me go ahead and scroll down for you guys so you can see where that SI joint is located. So what you can see there with that picture is that the iliopsoas complex, that SI joint is just right there in the midst of all of that. And so if you have any issues with that psoas muscle, the iliacus tightening up at all, it can very easily pull that SI joint area out of place, which then leaves you with some lower back pain, which is never fun. I can just tell you from my own experience. So having struggled with that in the past, I have done a lot of hard work to rectify those issues, to strengthen around that area. But all of a sudden, they were just back. And it didn't register for me at first why. But then after a trip to the chiropractor, it made perfect sense. It hit me and I realized, okay, the stress has tightened those up again. So the iliopsoas complex is the muscle group that it's like you can see in that picture. Let's go back up there. Is that that is located deep in the abdominal cavity. Okay, and it attaches to the spine. It attaches to the pelvis. So when you are stressed, the body actually enters a fight or flight state, which triggers a release of the stress hormones like cortisol. Okay, so this prepares the body for quick action. And that psoas muscle, what happens, it's actually often called the fight or flight muscle, because what it does is it contracts as a defensive mechanism to protect your vital organs. So the problem is that prolonged stress leaves that muscle contracted and tight, which then can lead to these symptoms. So we're looking at discomfort and tension in the lower back, pelvis, or hips. Posture is negatively affected to cause sometimes what is a forward tilt of the pelvis, alignment issues in the spine. That constant tension can actually pull things out of place, a negative impact on circulation. Constant tightness actually what that does is it presses on the major organs, then reduces blood flow. Digestive issues. Constant tension exerts pressure on digestive organs. Negative emotional impact. A lot of times people will find if they have a tight psoas, that's where a lot of stress and anxiety feelings can come from, is when those are, it actually will cause you to feel more anxious, more stressed, as that is continually tight. Another thing that it can cause is actually breathing difficulties. The psoas actually interacts with the diaphragm. And so what it can cause is actually shallow breathing and reduced O2 intake. So I actually experienced all the above except for the breathing difficulties. And it is frustrating, to say the least, but definitely a needed reminder. And here's the deal. I have a pretty good self-care routine in place, so I thought I was good. What I realized is I had actually let a few things slide since I wasn't dealing with those SI joint issues anymore. So a couple of the most common mistakes that I see people making when they're trying to deal with a tight psoas are, and this is stuff that I've done in the past as well, going straight to stretching. First thing, when your muscles are tight, many people will automatically think that they just need to stretch. So the problem is that many times that already tight muscle will actually tighten up more. So you need to actually release it first and then stretch it. And we'll get to that. Number 2 is stopping activity. So it hurts, so people don't exercise. I find that so often, but especially with that psoas muscle, if you just sit, it's actually going to make the problem worse. Sitting does not put that psoas muscle in a lengthened position. It puts it in a shortened position. So it actually makes it worse. So it's important to find exercise that doesn't make it feel worse, but still get some blood flow moving to the area. So not to mention that exercise can actually help to decrease stress, which is needed for that psoas muscle to release. So here's what I would recommend instead. Okay, so number 1, myofascial release and or massage. I mean, if you can do both, great. But if all you can get to is the myofascial release, this is also otherwise known as foam rolling. But myofascial release is done with a foam roller or something like a lacrosse ball, and it helps to release the tension in those tight muscles. One of the things that I found helpful is laying on my back, and I actually will bring the knee up on the side that's affected most. And you can find some YouTube videos on this, but using a kettlebell, the handle of a kettlebell, to kind of get in there and just press on that psoas muscle, because it is so deep. It does take a little bit of work to get in there and help it to release. And it's not comfortable. I promise you that much. If you go in for massage on it, they're going to get in there and it's not going to be very comfortable, but it is necessary to get that thing to release. So myofascial release and massage before you stretch, so that you can actually release that muscle and then stretch it, then lengthen it. So next would be stretching in yoga. Okay, so specific stretches targeting that psoas muscle, stuff like the kneeling hip flexor stretch or a lunging stretch. Yoga poses are things like pigeon or warrior. Those can help too. And then next would be strengthening exercises. So strengthening surrounding muscles like the glutes and the ab muscles, that can actually help to reduce the load on the psoas muscle. So exercises like bridges or bird dogs are good examples, especially if it's already bothering you. Those are good examples that aren't going to make it feel worse. So posture and movement adjustments. So what I would definitely avoid is prolonged sitting or poor posture, because those things can draw you in and put that muscle in a shortened position, and it needs to open up. Okay. So that's going to just continue to contribute to the psoas tightness. So standing up, moving regularly can actually help to increase the blood flow, which is extremely helpful. And then number 5, last but not least, relaxation techniques. Okay. If you're dealing with stress, you need to find what's going to work for you. If that's deep breathing exercises, if that's meditation or progressive muscle relaxation, those things are important. You need to find something that is going to help you to de-stress. And sometimes that is just, getting some self-care, getting some time to yourself, taking a few minutes just to really meditate on, some positive things. But definitely important for releasing that psoas muscle is also releasing your stress. So I would love to hear, have you ever dealt with a tight SI joint, tight psoas muscle, or any SI joint pain? I would love to hear your story and what you did to fix it. I'm also thinking about putting together a guide to dealing with the tight psoas muscle. So if that's something that you're interested in, definitely let me know. Reach out and let me know, because I would love to get that to you once I put that together. Thanks for taking the time to listen, guys. Hope it was helpful. Bye.